What if the best place in Spain to retire isn't Madrid, isn't Barcelona, and isn't Marbella, and most Spaniards couldn't point it on a map? There are 10 towns in Spain right now where Americans are living better, spending less, and eating dinner next to actual Spanish families who've never met a tourist. We're going to cover all 10. We're starting with number 10 and saving the best for last. And number 1 is going to make you question every retirement plan you've made so far. Jim and Carol have been looking at Spain for 2 years. They're in their late 60s, from rural Michigan, and they have $3,200 a month combined between their Social Security checks. $90,000 in savings. They want to make that money last and still feel something. They've looked at the big cities. The prices there looked a lot like home. Then they started looking at the places nobody talks about. Here's a number that landed hard when Jim found it. In Cáceres, a medieval city in western Spain that most Americans couldn't spell, you can rent a full apartment for €299 a month. That's about $330. A 4-bedroom house in the historic quarter sells for around €66,000. $66,000. Jim's truck cost more than that. We're going to walk through all 10 towns in the next 15 minutes. Every one of them has a real price attached. What the rent costs, what a house costs, what the climate does, and one thing about each place that surprised even us when we found it. Let's start at number 10 and work our way down to the one that changes the math entirely. Jim is 68. Carol is 67. 41 years married, which means they've had 41 years of practice disagreeing about everything and staying anyway. He's from the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, where January can last until April and the snow is personal. She grew up in Grand Rapids and has wanted to live somewhere warm since approximately 1987. They agree on exactly 2 things. They want to stretch the savings, and they want to do something before it's too late. Jim's words, not mine. Back home in Michigan, Jim and Carol pay about $1,400 a month for a 2-bedroom house they own outright. But between property taxes, heating bills, car insurance, and the general cost of being alive in rural Michigan, they're running through $2,800 a month. Every month. On a $3,200 income, that leaves $400 for adventure, for savings, for anything at all. Carol calls it surviving. Jim calls it waiting. Carol has one concern about Spain that she brings up every single time it comes up. She doesn't speak Spanish. Jim's response every time, neither does he, and somehow people in Spain have been eating lunch for centuries without his input. She has not found this helpful. What they both agree on is this: the money they're spending in Michigan is buying them very little life. Spain, even the expensive parts, costs less. The unknown parts cost dramatically less. And unknown in Spain still means cobblestone streets and a cafe on every corner. Spain has something that matters for a couple like Jim and Carol: actual public health care. It's not perfect, and as Americans, they'd need private supplemental insurance, which in Spain runs between $60 and $120 a month, depending on age and coverage. But the baseline safety net exists. For Robert, our other cast member with a heart condition, that would mean everything. For Jim and Carol, it means less anxiety about what happens if something goes wrong far from Michigan. One more thing about Jim and Carol before we get into the towns. They bicker, affectionately but constantly, about restaurants, about which route to take, about whether the heating is on too high. In Spain, this turns out to be an asset. The Spanish respect strong opinions about lunch. Jim and Carol will fit right in. Before we get into the 10 towns, a quick baseline. Spain's overall cost of living runs about 40% lower than the United States. That's not marketing copy, That's Numbeo's data from March 2026. For Jim and Carol, moving from $3,200 a month barely covering Michigan to $3,200 a month in Spain means the difference between surviving and genuinely living. Let's look at what their money actually does in a mid-range Spanish city. Not even the cheapest ones we're about to cover. In a mid-sized Spanish city, not one of the cheapest on our list, Jim and Carol's $3,200 a month would cover rent for a two-bedroom at around $800, groceries at $300, utilities at $90, 2 monthly transit passes at $80 combined, private health insurance for both at around $200, and a real dining out budget, lunches at restaurants, a glass of wine in the evening, at around $350. Total, around $1,820. They'd have $1,380 left over. Every month. That's not a rounding error. That's a vacation. Now here's where it gets interesting. Everything we just showed you was a mid-range Spanish city. The 10 towns we're about to walk through are cheaper than that. In some cases, much cheaper. In Cáceres, number 4 on our list, that rent line drops from $800 to under $400. The surplus starts looking like a different life entirely. All 10 towns, all with real numbers, starting right now. Number 10, Huesca. Most Americans have never heard of it. Most Spaniards, if they're honest, think of it mainly when they're driving to the Pyrenees. Huesca sits at the foot of those mountains in Aragon, northern Spain, about an hour from Zaragoza. It's a compact university city of around 53,000 people. Clean streets, a medieval old town that doesn't appear on any tour bus itinerary, and a 3-bedroom apartment for around 93,000 euros, about $103,000. The surprise about Huesca is the skiing. 25 minutes from Formigal, one of Spain's biggest ski resorts. Carol's reaction when Jim mentioned this was not what he expected. She spent 30 years in Michigan avoiding winter. Jim spent 30 years wishing Michigan had better mountains. They managed to find the one Spanish retirement town that solves both problems at once, if you consider skiing on Tuesdays in December and getting away from skiing to be compatible goals. They are not. Number 9, Oviedo, Asturias in the green north of Spain. This is the Spain that doesn't look like Spain. Lush, rainy, Atlantic, closer in feel to rural Ireland than Andalusia. Oviedo has been repeatedly ranked the cleanest city in Spain. It's not a small town, 180,000 people, but it feels like one. Rent for a 1-bedroom runs 500 to 700 euros a month, around 550 to 770 in dollars. The local cider is poured from a height of 3 feet for reasons that remain somewhat mystical. The food in Asturias is what gets people. Fabada, a rich bean stew with pork that weighs about the same as a small car. Cachopo, breaded veal stuffed with ham and cheese, served in portions designed for people who may not eat again until Thursday. And the sidra. Asturian cider is poured standing up, arm extended overhead, glass held at the knee, and the whole theatrical ritual performed by waiters who treat it as a matter of civic pride. Jim tried this on his second day in Oviedo. Carol said it looked like he was trying to water a plant. Number 8, Gijón, also in Asturias, 20 minutes from Oviedo and entirely different in feel. Gijón is a port city of about 250,000. It has an actual urban beach, Playa de San Lorenzo, right in the middle of the city. Apartment near the beach runs around 99,500 euros. Call it $110,000. The trade-off, this is Atlantic coast, which means it's green and it rains. It is not the Mediterranean. Carol has opinions about this. Number 7, Santander, Cantabria, right on the Bay of Biscay. Cantabria consistently ranks among the top Spanish regions for public healthcare quality, which matters to Jim and Carol more than it used to. A two-bedroom apartment in Santander runs around €102,000, roughly $113,000. The city has a long beachfront promenade, a ferry to England for anyone who needs a backup plan, and a patisserie culture that Carol described as a genuine threat to her retirement savings. Number 6. Salamanca, University City in Castilla y León, West Central Spain. 160,000 people and more students than the city knows what to do with. Salamanca has been measured as having among the cleanest air of any major Spanish city. The Old Town is UNESCO World Heritage. The Plaza Mayor is one of the most beautiful public squares in Europe, and it costs nothing to sit in it for 3 hours eating a pastry. A two-bedroom apartment runs around €92,000, roughly $102,000. What Salamanca has that most retirement list towns don't is an active street life year-round. Students keep the cafes full in October. The tapas bars are not performing for tourists, and there are very few tourists in Salamanca in November. Jim sat in a bar near the university for 2 hours watching Spaniards argue about football with a ferocity he recognized from watching Michiganders argue about parking. He ordered a beer. It cost €1.20. He ordered another. Same price. He called Carol immediately. Number 5. Toledo. If you've driven through Spain at all, you've seen Toledo from the highway. A walled city on a hill above the Tagus River, completely intact, looking like someone hit pause on the Middle Ages. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it sits 33 minutes from Madrid by high-speed train. Apartments inside the old walls start around €65,000, about $72,000. The trade-off: Toledo gets cold in winter, real cold. And those medieval streets are beautiful and steep, which Carol noted when she was wearing the wrong shoes. Here's the thing about Toledo that the travel sites skip: the marzipan. Toledo produces marzipan the way Detroit produces excuses, relentlessly, at industrial scale, and with a level of civic pride that borders on hostile. Every bakery, every shop window, every cafe counter, marzipan shaped like fruits, marzipan shaped like animals, marzipan that costs €2 and tastes like a very old family making very good decisions. Jim bought 6 pieces and ate them before Carol came out of the cathedral. He told her he bought 4. Number 4. Cáceres, Extremadura, Western Spain, close to the Portuguese border. This is where the numbers stop being interesting and start being absurd. You already heard the headline: rent from €299 a month, a 4-bedroom house in the UNESCO-listed historic quarter for €66,000. But here's the context. Cáceres is not a ruin or a compromise. It is a functioning, beautiful, fully inhabited medieval city. The old town looks like a film set. It is not a film set. Although it has been one, Game of Thrones filmed here. For Jim and Carol, Cáceres does something mathematically violent to their budget. If they rent a 2-bedroom in the old town, let's say €350, around $390, their total monthly costs in Cáceres could come in well under $1,200. On $3,200 a month income, that's over $2,000 a month left over. That's the $90,000 in savings not being touched. That's the trip to Portugal every 3 months. That's Carol getting new shoes for the steep streets. Number 3. Vigo. Galicia is the northwestern corner of Spain, green and Atlantic, and genuinely unlike anywhere else in the country. Vigo is Spain's biggest fishing port, which matters because the seafood is extraordinary and costs almost nothing. Galician-style octopus, pulpo a la gallega, olive oil, paprika, served on a wooden board, €5. Percebes, goose barnacles that look like tiny dinosaur feet and taste like pure Atlantic Ocean. Expensive by Galician standards, cheap by American ones, A 3-bedroom apartment in Vigo runs around €94,000, $104,000. Vigo has one detail that surprises people. Portugal is 45 minutes away. For Jim and Carol, who've spent 41 years in Michigan and have a combined total of 2 international trips, this is a remarkable thing. You drive 45 minutes and you're in a different country. Different language, different food, different everything. Carol wants to go immediately. Jim wants to make sure parking is manageable. This is their 41 years in a single exchange. Number 2, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and the interior of Tenerife. The Canary Islands are technically Spain. Same currency, same passport rules, same language, but they sit off the coast of Morocco, not Europe. The tax rate is different. 7% IJIC instead of the mainland's 21% VAT. The climate is different. Beach weather year-round. Average high in January in Las Palmas is around 22 Celsius. That's 72 Fahrenheit. Carol heard this and stopped arguing about Vigo's parking entirely. The interior of Tenerife is a different Spain again. Volcanic, dramatic, quiet. Teide National Park, the highest point in Spain, looms over everything. Villages in the interior where the rent is genuinely low, where the restaurant serves local wine grown at altitude, and where the tourists have all driven past on their way to the beach resorts and never noticed. For Jim and Carol, who want to feel like they found something, Tenerife's interior delivers that feeling without requiring them to be particularly adventurous to get there. And then there's number 1. We said we'd save the best for last. Here it is. Águilas, Murcia, southeast Spain, Mediterranean coast, 45 minutes south of Cartagena. Almost nobody outside Spain has heard of it. Very few people inside Spain will admit how good it is. Águilas has 37 kilometers of coastline, a small fishing harbor, a 19th century castle above the port, and about 35,000 people who have chosen a very quiet, very good life in a place the tourist industry forgot to ruin. Murcia is the second cheapest region in mainland Spain for housing. In Águilas, a house with a private pool sells for around €100,000. That's about $112,000. Jim and Carol have $90,000 in savings. That means they'd need to add $22,000 to their savings, roughly 1 year of their current monthly surplus in Michigan, to own a house with a pool on the Mediterranean coast of Spain. Jim read that number twice. Carol read it a third time and then asked Jim to read it again to confirm she wasn't having a stroke. The food in Águilas is what you'd expect from a working fishing town that has never been told to perform for anyone. Caldero, a rice dish cooked in fish broth, served with the catch of the day. Grilled dorada, sea bream, for under €10 at a harbor restaurant, where the chef is the same person who bought the fish at 6 that morning. The market on Tuesday smells like salt water and citrus. In January, it's 65 degrees, and the sun is on your face, and there's a Spanish grandfather at the next table reading a newspaper without looking up. Nobody is in a hurry. Now the honest part. Jim and Carol, and anyone else looking at these 10 towns, need to know what the brochure leaves out. First, the non-lucrative visa. To retire in Spain legally, Americans need it. It requires proving passive income of roughly €2,900 a month, about $3,200 for a couple. Jim and Carol hit that number exactly on their combined Social Security. The visa also requires private health insurance and a clean criminal background check. It's real paperwork. It takes months. But it's the standard path, and it works. Verify current requirements directly at the Spanish consulate nearest to you, because these numbers change. Taxes. Short version. Americans living abroad still file U.S. federal taxes. Always. FBAR if you have over $10,000 in foreign accounts. The foreign earned income exclusion may not apply to Social Security income. That's a gray area worth a single conversation with a cross-border accountant, not a YouTube rabbit hole. The session costs a few $100s. It saves thousands in anxiety. Spain also has its own income tax framework for residents. One accountant in both countries, once, then stop worrying about it. Healthcare. Medicare does not travel. It covers almost nothing outside the United States. That's from Medicare.gov directly. In Spain, private health insurance for a couple in their late 60s runs between $150 and $250 a month, depending on coverage. Spanish private health care is genuinely good. The public system, which residents access, is very good. What you don't get is your American doctor or your existing coverage. You replace it, at a lower cost with different paperwork. The distance. This is the one that doesn't fit in a spreadsheet. Carol's daughter in Denver is an 8-hour flight away, minimum. Jim's grandkids in Michigan, same. You will not be at every birthday. You will be at some of them if you plan it. FaceTime fills some of the gap. It doesn't fill all of it. This is the honest cost of the life we've been describing, and it's the only cost that doesn't show up in a Numbeo table. Every person who moves abroad thinks about this differently. No one stops thinking about it. And the Spanish bureaucracy deserves a brief, affectionate mention. Banks require appointments. Appointments may or may not result in anything. Nothing happens in August. Everything closes between 2 and 5. Sunday is sacred. The NIE number, your Spanish ID as a foreigner, takes time to obtain and is required for everything from opening a bank account to buying property. None of this is insurmountable. All of it requires patience that Michigan witters, paradoxically, have already prepared Jim and Carol for. Here's where all 10 towns land for Jim and Carol. The math is not subtle. In Michigan, their $3,200 a month buys them $400 of space to breathe. In mid-range Spanish cities, it leaves over $1,300 left over. In Cáceres, it potentially leaves over $2,000. In Águilas, where a house with a pool costs $112,000 and the rent on a 2-bedroom is under $500, their savings get to stay in the bank while they live on the income in the sun next to the Mediterranean. That is a fundamentally different retirement. The blunt version. Spain has already been discovered by expats in Málaga, in Valencia, in Barcelona. These 10 towns have not. They are running about 5 to 8 years behind the curve on foreign interest, which means prices are still what they were before anyone arrived. When Cáceres starts appearing in the same lists as Marbella, it will stop being what it is now. Right now, it's still what it is now. That window doesn't stay open forever. Jim and Carol are fictional. The prices are real. The cider poured from 3 feet up in Oviedo is real. The marzipan Jim ate in Toledo is real. The house with a pool in Águilas for $112,000 is real. Somewhere, right now, there's an actual Jim and an actual Carol sitting in actual Michigan, looking at the same numbers, arguing about which one of them found this first. The number that matters is 41 years together. They've earned the view. Now I want to hear from you. Not from Jim and Carol, from you. Are you a Jim and a Carol? Are you closer to a Dave, skeptical but curious? Maybe you're a Linda, 60 and wanting someone to say good morning to. Tell me below, your age, your monthly income, the place on your mind. I read every comment, genuinely. The comments from the last Spain video shaped what we covered today. 2 people mentioned Extremadura. We went there. That's how this works. If any of these 10 places caught something in you, a flicker, a wait, how much moment, there's a card on screen right now for the deep dive we did on one of Spain's bigger cities. Different scale, same philosophy. Real numbers, real life, no sales pitch. Take a look. And if you haven't subscribed, the next one covers a country that makes Spain look expensive. That's all I'll say. There's one more thing about Águilas. On a Tuesday morning in January, when the fish market opens at 7 and the harbor smells like salt and diesel, and someone is already arguing about the price of clams. The light on the water is a specific color that doesn't exist in Michigan in January. It barely exists in summer. Jim would probably say it's just the angle of the sun. Carol would say it's why they came. 41 years is a long time to stay somewhere because you haven't decided to leave. Spain doesn't ask you to love it. It just shows you Tuesday morning at the harbor and lets you make up your own mind.